This is Amud Yomi Gemara Berachos Daf Mem Vav Amud Beis. And we're holding on Mem Vav Amud Aleph in the middle of the discussion as to whether the bracha of Atayv V'Hamitiv is of Daraisa origin or is it only Derabanan. So the Gemara begins, Amar Rav Yosef Teda, I'll bring you a raya. A raya that Atayv Hamitiv is lav Daraisa. Why? Shrei Payil and Mikra Maisai. That's what we ended with in the previous year, because workers don't say it. They finish their Berachos Hamazon with B'nei Berachos Yishalayim Amen. They do not say the bracha of Atayv Hamitiv. That is the proof that it is not Daraisa. I'll bring you another raya that a type of meitiv is not a daraisa. 4 lines from the bottom. And vav amid aleph. What's the raya sharei? Vayseches bebaruch. You begin with baruch. Vein chaytein ba bebaruch kedetanya. That's actually where we stopped, as we learned in the brayso. Kol ha-brachos kulam b'teach b'hen bebaruch v'chaysid b'hen bebaruch. All brachos begin and end with baruchot. Mi berachos ha-peiros u'berachos ha-mitzvos u'bracha asucha lechaverta u'bracha achrona shebekri shema. So we have 4 times that we do not begin and end with baruch. Berachos ha-peiros, berachos ha-mitzvos, when we have back-to-back brachos, and the last bracha of Kriya Shema. Yesh mehen, some of these 4, Shepasech ben Baruch, Vein Chaytim Baruch, that you start with Baruch and you don't end. And we move over to Mem Vav Beis, and says the Gemara, Yesh mehen, and there are times, Shechaysid ben Baruch, that you do indeed finish with Baruch, Vein Pasech ben Baruch, but you do not start with Baruch. V'atayv v'amitiv, Pasech ben Baruch, Vein Chaysid ben Baruch, Mechlal de Bracha b'vnei Hatzmi. Now, the fact that it starts with Baruch and does not end with Baruch shows that it's not a daraisa and it's its own bracha. Says the Gemara of Amar Rav Yitzchak, and if you look at Rashi for one moment, Rashi at the end of the wide lines at the top of Mem Vav Beis says Rashi Atayv Meitiv the last smuch lechavertehi she'einai mi berachos hamazon ela akfuros harugi beiter teknua. It was a new reason they were mitaking this bracha for those who were buried in Beitar. It's not a chilek of benching, and therefore the fact that it starts with Baruch and does not end shows us that it's not a daraisa. Continues the Gemara with another raya of Amar Nachman Yitzchak, 4 lines down. Teida that type of meitiv lav daraisa. Sharei oikr nosav beis avel. In the house of an avel, you do not say this bracha. Kedetanya, as Abraisa says, Ma yimam beis avel. Baruch hatayv hamitiv. Baruch kiva amer baruch dayon ha'emes. So you don't say that bracha. The fact you have to get rid of the bracha shows us that it must not be a din de'araisa. Says the Gemara, according to the Tanakama of that brayso we just quoted about an avel that said that you do say atayv hamitiv in the house of avelim of a mourner, atayv hamitiv in Dayan Emes law. You're going to tell me that you do say Atayv Meitiv and you don't say the bracha of Dayan Emes? Eleima says Gemara, no. You know what it means? Af Atayv Meitiv. According to Tanakama, you say both. Once we're on the topic of what brachas are said in the house of an Avel, says the Gemara, Mar Zucha Ravashi was visiting the house of Ravashi, Itra Bei Milsa, and unfortunately something happened to Ravashi, meaning a relative was nifter and Ravashi was an Avel. Pasach ubaruch, he began and he said the bracha, the 4th bracha, Shvanasri, after B'nei Berachos Yishalayim Amen. He began Atayv Hamitiv, Kel ha'emes v'dayon ha'emes, meaning he began the 4th bracha normally, Baruch Hashem l'kedem al-chalam, Atayv Hamitiv, and then he segued into Kel ha'emes dayon ha'emes shev v'tzedek l'chem mishva v'shalom ba'olam, when he rules over the world. L'aseh abayi b'rtani choder achav mishpat, all's ways are just, Shakol Shalai, everything is Hashem's, and Achlu Amay Va'avadav. We are His nation and His servant of Kol Anachlu Heaven, the Haidai Sol Baruch, and for everything we thank and we bless HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Gaidei brought us to Yisrael. He fixes all the breaches in Klal Yisrael. Hu Yigdar Sapir Tzazois. He, Hashem, should fix this breach, this fact that this one is in Avelos Yisrael L'Chaim. So proves the Gemara with multiple rayos, and of course this is how we paskin that a toiva meitiv is not a deraisa. But as we always mention, even a derabanan is something that one must do. It continues the Gemara lehechan hu chayzer. About 15 lines down, the first word on the line is chayzer. Says the Gemara, where in Berachos Hamazon does he go back? This goes back a few amudim, which the Gemara said that if two people are benching and the third one stops eating in order to answer into the ziman, so when he himself benches, where in Berachos Hamazon does he go? Rav Sim Shveita Abaye Amar Chayzer Leroy. She goes back to the beginning of benching. Amr Amri Lamakev Shepasak Vosal Lamakev Shepasak. Go back to the place where he ended off, which is Berachos Haaretz. This goes back to the Gemara as to which part of Ziman is part of the benching or not. We're smack in the middle of the Amid, Memvav Amid Beis by the two dots, says the Gemara. Amar Le Rish Kalusa Rav Sheshes, Rish Kalusa said to Rav Sheshes, Afal Gav the Rabbanan Ket Shishiatan, even though you're an elderly Rav, Parsai did Sarche Suda Bikim Minaichli. The Persians are more proficient than you when it comes to the Sarche Suda, when it comes to the appropriate etiquette at a meal. Says the Gemara of the story to prove that which we just said, the Bezanche in Shtei Mitais. The Persians, when there are two couches, again, they used to sit on couches by the Suda, not on chairs. Gadol Meisib Baroish, the greater one would sit on the couch first. V'sheni Lai, Lamala Mimanu, the second one is on the couch above him. Zanchin Shalosh, there's three people, three couches. Gadol Meisib Be'emsa, Sheni Lai Lamala Himanu to the right, Shlishi Lai Lamata Himanu beneath him. Amar lei, so says Rav Sheshes to the Reish Galusa of Chibayish Ta'ubadei. But when there's a chashiv, one wants to speak to the one who's not as chashiv, he has to bend his head. And then he has to straighten up and talk to him. It should be better for the second one as chashiv to be below him. Why is he above if one's in the middle and the second chashiv is up there and the third chashiv is down there? So when the middle guy who's the most chashiv, he has to turn and crank his neck to talk to the guy up top. Amar le shiny parsai. The Persians are different. Because they would signal to each other. They wouldn't actually have to bend and talk to the other. They would talk through hand motions. Continues the Gemara with a new sugya. Mayim rishainim. Well, it's a new sugya, but of course it's related in the fact that we're going to discuss other aspects of the etiquette of these parsai, of these Persians. Mayim rishainim. Mechan maschlin, who would wash first? Amar lei mina gadol. Says Rav Sheshes, Yeshiv gadol v'yishvar yadav al shenod b'nei. It's very nice that he washes first, but then he has to sit and he has to wait until everyone else washes his hands. So Amar lei responds to Reish Galusa altar ma'asu takum. No, right away they bring in the table and he starts eating. He doesn't wait for anyone. Says Sheshes further, my machrayim mechan matchilin Amar lei mina katan. So ask Rav Sheshes again, v'kol meisiv yadav u'mizu hamos hachnal lekulam. So Gadol has to wait until everyone washes his hands with dirty hands. Amar lei, about 15 lines to the bottom. The first one line is kulam. Ad dinamti maya legabe. They don't remove. Loy misalki talka migamayu. They don't remove the table. Ad damata maya legabe. So the one who's most chash should be able to sit and eat all the way till they bring him the mayim achronim. Amar Rav Sheshes. Continues the Gemara. Ana matanita b'yodana. I know a brayso. The Tanya. Keser say the Suda Siba. How do we do a Seba? Bizan Shtei Mitas Gadol Meisa B'Raish. The greater one sits first. V'shein lo matei menu underneath him. Bizan Shein Shalosh Mitas Gadol Meisa B'Raish. Shein lo malei menu. Shlishi lo matei menu. So again, similar to the Persians, that the Gadol's in the middle. Top right is second as Gadol. Top left, bottom left is third as Gadol. If there's 5 people or less, begin by the Gadol, but if there's many people, and you start from the least chashiv, until it reaches to the final 5, and then then you go back and you start from the Gadol. The place that Mayim Achreinim goes back by those 5 people, L'sham Bracha Chazeres, because he is the most chashiv, so he's going to be the one that actually benches. Says the Gemara Masaya Le Rav, I'll bring you a raya. Whoever washes his hands at the end first, who mezuman lebracha mamish, like we just said. Everyone else will wash. The final 5 then will go in order of chashivas, and therefore he is going to be the one that will bench. Shall we conclude today's share with a story? Rabbi Rav Chia Yossi B'Sasik Hameder Rabbi Amr Le Rabbi Le Rav Kol Mashi Yadach, get up and wash your hands. Chazit Kamarti. Rav Chia Rav was like, wondering, really, he wasn't so happy. Amr Le Bar Paschi, and we had this Gemara before. Ayin Berachos 46b Karmelach. He's not just telling you to wash your hands first. He's telling you that you're going to be the one to bench. He's giving you a chashivos. Stop over here. We'll pick it up for the last line on the Memvav and Beis next year. V'siyata Dishmaya.